Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we have another shop talk video, and today we're going to talk about the perplexities of vehicle systems being tied together and the issues they can cause. Now before we go ahead and begin, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below. Definitely smash that like button because it helps the channel out. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started on today's video. So next to me, I have an electronic rack and pinion that came out of a Mercedes that had a failure. And today's topic is going to be perplexities of modern vehicles with all these subsystems being connected to one another. And this is the best example of it. Now, this belongs in an E-Class Mercedes. This rack and pinion failed while it was in the shop, oddly enough. If you haven't watched that video, there is a shop talk video out explaining how this car drove in with perfectly working steering. And when we tried driving it out after doing the rear brakes on it, just didn't want to steer, and every single light on for every subsystem was on, saying that we had an issue. So getting back to the subject at hand, this rack failed on this Mercedes. When that happened, the computer was not allowing the vehicle to basically drive. It was basically putting it in like a limp mode. After the limp mode occurred, obviously you're going to have like your ABS lights on and things of that nature. You had a whole array of codes for all these subsystems that could not work because this was not outputting the correct information, and basically the car was unknowingly not knowing what to do, which seems really odd. But aside from things like collision mitigation, lane assist, blind spot monitoring, things like that, like none of those systems wanted to work. Every single light was on when we ran the scanner on the vehicle and scanned every single system, because that's what my scanner does, basically scans the whole network. Almost every single module had some sort of code saying that, hey, we can't talk to the rack and pinion, so we can't do our job. Therefore, we're going to go into limp mode and, play it the way we want to play it, which is scary because, on top of this being an electric rack, when this fails, it's really hard to move the steering. It's not as easy as the old school manual steering. You may be able to get it around, but if you're at a stop, you could barely move it. You really got to hulk it to get it to move. So the car's pretty much not going anywhere when this fails. But the sheer fact that when this fails, pretty much everything else doesn't want to work, it's just ridiculous. A lot of cars are like this nowadays. Everything is tied into something. I've even seen it where if you replace something like this, you have to program it. And believe it or not, this is one of those. When we got the new rack and pinion and put it on the car, we had to go in there and basically write the serial number and the VIN and everything from the computer to the rack back and forth because they communicate. And then we also had to go in there and tell the engine module, the transmission module, and pretty much every other module that requires an input from this to reset them to the new standard, which was the new rack and everything. So we basically had to tell them like, hey, we have a new rack, can you guys play nice together? So if you're getting a weird signal, it's the new part because we had to swap out the other one. If you don't do that, you're not really going anywhere. Because initially when I installed a new rack, I just went on my scanner and I thought it would be easy where I installed a part, go in there, obviously tell the computer we have a new rack, calibrate them and basically make them associate with each other. And I'm like, okay, cool, it'll clear off all the other lights. So I did that, I programmed it, and then I just went to clear all the codes on all my modules, kind of sweep them out. And my scanner will go from showing a module as red when it has a code in it to green when everything is good. My steering module, everything was green on that because it was programmed and happy and initialized. But I cleared the codes for everything else, and much to my surprise, I cleared them and boom, 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 all red again. They all came back with the same thing, like, we don't see a rack. So they went from, hey, we're not getting a good signal to like, we can't see it. We cannot communicate with it. We had a no communication code then. So I had to go in manually and go to every subsystem and tell it, hey, initialize new rack and pinion, play nice with it. Which it wasn't that bad, but still, like, it just shows the complexity of it. Why can't you just buy a new part, plug it in, and have the computer just work with it? Like, I get it, you got to calibrate them. There's certain sensors in here, like torque load sensors, sometimes even like steering angle sensors and things like that can kind of be put into these But those are pretty easy to reset. Normally, like if you drive a BMW, you're really aware with this. If your battery dies for a while or is disconnected, you get in the car, you get the steering warning, you just turn the wheel lock to lock 360 and it calibrates. It's that simple. Why can't they make things that simple? Why do I have to go to the computer and tell it, hey, this is new serial number for the rack and pinion, you need to communicate with it? And then why do I also have to go in there and tell this to play nice with the ECM or the steering module? It's ridiculous. Parts should be plug and play. I really hate this programming, put VINs in, serial numbers. I mean, the end of the day is they do it this way, I think more to make it complex, so you can't do it at home. Because I'll be honest with you, for a while there I got scared. I thought I was gonna send this car to the dealer, and they were charging, I think it was like $375 for, you know, a system programming of this. And you know, after messing with my scanner for a couple minutes, I was able to figure out that every module had to go through their own little initialization when I replaced the switch. It's absolutely bonkers. I never expected that, even though it is kind of the norm nowadays, but it is what it is. But this is a real problem because let's say your steering wheel is hooked up to your, let's say, blind spot, you know, warning. Let's say one of the blind spot warning sensors go. Now I can understand that the car will probably lose like its lane assist or self-driving capabilities or assisted driving capabilities, but should that lock you out of everything else? Should your transmission not shift correctly or want to move or anything? Because that's kind of what happened with this one. When this went out, we had transmission codes and engine codes, and you know, I'm pretty sure if I was able to get in the car and physically drive it, I'm pretty sure this thing would have been limping. But you know, I wasn't gonna go out and try to drive a car that didn't have steering or had really difficult steering to move. I think we're at a day and age where yes, we're technologically advanced, but we are also technologically stupid in the sense that, you know, we keep putting up these paywalls, I guess you can call them, to, you know, consumers, which absolutely shouldn't be there. If you bought this car and you go to the dealer and you paid the absurd cost of $5,000 or $3,000, whatever you're paying for this, because prices are subject to change. But as a recording, this thing is going for $5,000 new from the dealer or $3,000 for a remanufactured one. If you're paying that amount of money, you should be able to take this, take it to whoever you want, or do it yourself, put it on your vehicle, plug it in, and have it work. You shouldn't then have to deal with the, oh, you got to bring it into us or take it somewhere to get it programmed for it to work. It's bonkers. You know, they're just killing everything for everyone, including shops. Don't think that shops benefit from this. The software costs a lot of money. The hardware costs a lot of money. Scanners are absolutely crazy. Now they're talking about pay subscriptions to be able to even be able to read data off a vehicle, which, you know, kind of, it's mind-boggling because I thought OBD2 was the whole thing of free access and sharing so cars can get fixed. But no, apparently they want to put a paywall behind that too, where you have to pay manufacturers X amount a month to be able to plug into their vehicles and get codes and data. Like, you know, technology is a good thing, but also can be a bad thing, and the way it's being used here is clearly evident. It's going the wrong way, so this has to change. You know, subsystems being connected, the usefulness of them being connected is for all these systems to work together, because you need your blind spot warning sensors to be able to have your self-driving car work, because it'll monitor and give data to the computer telling it, hey, you could turn or merge into this lane, which in turn the rack needs to know that information as well, because it will be doing that change. You know, as cars are getting more complex, the systems become more complex, but we don't have to sit there and make it even harder on ourselves. So these subsystems will always be intertwined on newer vehicles. Because every sensor feeds relative data, they'll have to come together to make one functioning item. Because this rack cannot self-drive the car and turn the wheels for you to merge into the right lane if your rear sensors in the back can't see if there's a car there or not. So, you know, it's just how things are. But, you know, the walls we put up and as you can say, the headache of making things work, or how hard they make it for consumers and shops or anyone that doesn't want to take it to the dealer for repairs, is just absolutely bonkers. So, you know, this is the complexity of a modern car, everyone. Stuff we deal with, it's getting worse and worse. I think there may be a day where they just kind of say, hey, If you don't bring it to us, no one can touch it. And I feel we're headed that way, which is a scary thought. Hopefully it doesn't. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. So that's pretty much the video, guys. Just wanted to kind of share this information with you to kind of let everyone know that modern cars have to literally come as a whole. You can't just limp them home if a sensor goes bad anymore, because that sensor is going to be needed in some way, shape, or form, which, you know, I know it doesn't make sense, but that's just how it is. So at the end of the day, we're just going to leave it at that. So like always, comment, like, and subscribe, because it definitely helps the channel grow. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll catch you on the next video.